Hello everyone, this is Team CryptoGeek and we are working on the project Rupali, a transparent supply chain solution for fish export in the light of Sustainable Development Goal number 17, which is strengthening the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. Here we are 6 CryptoGeek members starting in Sust and Kuwait from Bangladesh. Now, why we have chosen fish export? The first one, there is an imbalance between the production and export. Bangladesh holds the rank 3rd in case of inland open water capture production and 1st in case of national fish ILSHA and 5th in case of global aquaculture, but when it comes about fish exporting, it holds the rank only 34th. Fisheries also contributes to the national GDP of Bangladesh as well. Aquaculture is employed by 73% of the rural families and fisheries employs almost 15 million people of Bangladesh. Not only that, fisheries provide 3.52% of the national GDP and almost 1/4 of the farm GDP. Following Rupali's solution, contribution to the national GDP in Bangladesh of the fisheries sector gets improved from 3.52% to 5% within 2030. And besides being one of the LDC countries before 2021 and now a developing countries, Rupali can support Bangladesh to achieve the sustainable development goals of the United Nations within 2030 and be a developed nation by 2041. Now, coming to the problems. The first problem, lack of transparency. There is a huge lack of institutional organization and coordination among the actors at individual value chain nodes. The widespread use of locality inputs that is present and lack of enforcement of standards and policies to enhance fish production. Now, the second problem, fraudulences. Back in 2018, 2 companies from Bangladesh and China got banned by the West Coast of United States of America for the contamination with nitrophenous antibiotics and veterinary with shrimps. Now, coming to the third problem. Back in 2015, 30% of the consumers at United Kingdom were very much concerned about the product they are purchasing. Not only that, based on this survey, 779 business leaders were very much concerned because the consumers concerned about the origin of the product. The whole repeated paper-based documentation submission in different departments of the government, mainly regarding to fish exporting, is a very time-consuming process. What are the solutions of Rupali? To solve the problem number 1 and 2, lack of transparency and fraudulences, Rupali ensures the integral traceability. Blockchain helps to detect frauds by identifying problems from the very start of the transaction. And the system will decide and provide auditable records that can be inspected and used by companies and regulators. The third problem, increasing consumers' concerns. Rupali proposes attributing tag to each product recorded in blockchain through which the consumers can see the origin of the product, place of storage, and the entire timeline of changes of hands of the product. Additionally, in case of international business, many countries are not familiar with blockchain-based letter of credit, which is empowered by permission blockchain, and it reduces the transaction turnaround time to almost a quarter or even less than the conventional methods. The whole automated system will be very real-time and agile, which will ensure an openness and inclusiveness through guaranteed opportunity to anyone who can provide legal credentials. Let's talk about why Rupali is using private blockchain. Here is the flow diagram which actually indicates why Rupali converts into the permission blockchain, not hybrid or public blockchain. The first one, does Rupali need a trusted central authority? No. Does Rupali need high performance over 1000 TPS? No. Number 3, does Rupali need to capture huge amount of that data? No. Now coming to number 5, does Rupali need for a persistent transaction data? Yes. Do multiple parties need to able to access or audit the data? Yes. Are value exchange of Rupali being managed? No. Or number 8, can additional logic be used to represent processes? Yes. Or number 9, does Rupali need central own application functionality? No. Number 10, can transaction of Rupali be public but hashed? No. And finally, it converts into the permissioned or private blockchain. Here is the whole business model canvas of Rupali, where we have discussed the cost structure, the fixed cost, the variable cost, the revenue streams, and also who are the key partners of Rupali, what are the key activities of Rupali, the key resources, the channels, and the customer relationships. There are some common values in Rupali that reduce middlemen, transportation time, and cost. Documents are immutable. It connects the authentic parties without any trust issues. It enables quick auditing and tracking the products in real time. Now coming to the prototype architecture of Rupali. Rupali already has a ready prototype with code bases. Here we see that each organization has a certificate authority, and we can see how they communicate through a smart contract in a secure channel. Here is the transaction flow of Rupali, where you can see how a transaction occurs from one organization to another. And this is the architecture of the decentralized application of Rupali. Let's try to focus on why Rupali is better than existing solutions. Supply chain structure is one of the reasons why we claim that Rupali is the best solution, because it is a very generalized structure through which any country can adopt Rupali's solution and be the beneficiary of the most efficient supply chain solution. Let's traverse the supply chain. First of all, the fisherman sends fishes to the exporter, and there is a contract which is signed between the importer and exporter. After that, the exporter sends document to the Department of Fisheries, and after applying for an LC, the importer's bank issues letter of credit, and when it gets verified, it is forwarded to the exporter. After the contract is signed and goods is forwarded to the port, and alongside that, the documents of the products will be sent to the customs, and when the customs permits to move, it moves to the exporter ends to importer ends port via logistics supports. And alongside that, exporter sends the documents to the nominated bank of exporter side, and documents are forwarded to the importer's bank. And in the meantime, importer's account is debited, and after that, the payments is collected by the exporter, and the documents are released to the importer. When the importer shows the documents to the importer's ends customs and claim goods, and after that, after collecting the goods, the importer sends the processed fish to the distributor, and finally it reaches to the consumer level. Now let's analyze the strengths, weakness, and opportunities and threats. Talking about the strengths, it is transparent to its users, it is cost and time efficient, it's auditable, it prevents the frauds, and it creates value for the government. What about the weaknesses? Blockchain technology is not still that much matured, and there is a less number of tech experts available. But there are some opportunities as well. It improves the customer experience. There is a harmonization, and it increases the traceability, and the more inclusion of the root level people is ensured. Thus, we can ensure the global partnership, which actually helps to achieve sustainable development goals, especially number 17. There are some threats as well, because the transition time concerns. And in many countries, the blockchain strategy is not defined properly. Here is the competitor matrix, where we have considered 3 different parameters: the market growth rate, relative market share, and industry growth rates. These are the companies which works with the fish supply chain. And among them, only Fishcoin and Fishtrex works with the blockchain-based approach of fish supply chain, but they work only within the US border. But comparing to them, Rupali actually holds a very good position in the competitor matrix in the very first quadrant, because it actually works with the cross-border business solutions in case of fish supply chain using the blockchain technology. Talking about achieving sustainable development goals, Rupali's solution is very much helpful to achieve 12 different sustainable development goals. But among them, Sustainable Development Goal number 17 is the most closed one, because the target number 71, Rupali fulfills it by the best utilization of domestic resources. It also, the developing countries' beneficiaries in the global market through the transparent business in fish exporting and accelerate their national income and national reserve, which indicates the target number 17.4 and 17.11. Not only that, Rupali is a cross-border supply chain-based solution that includes banks, customs, government, farmers or fishermen from routes, and the whole solution relies on better technologies such as internet support, IoT devices, smartphones, automation, and the digitalization of documents and systems. It ensures openness, inclusiveness, and gender equality. Rupali's proposed supply chain structure is a very generalized one that is adjustable to any country's policy and system. Let's analyze the risks on Rupali. There are endpoint vulnerabilities, emerging blockchain, because the blockchain technology is still an experimenting one. There are risks about the vendors and basic cost, because there is no real cost structure, only the realistic and assumption-based cost structure is available there. This is the future roadmap of Rupali. We will initiate the pilot programs with the government and money transaction authority. After 6 months of the initiating, we will promote the ecosystem to all the stakeholders, and after the 6 months of the second phase, we will target the stakeholders, and thus a self-sufficiency will be met in our target market. And after a year of that, our milestone, the break-even point, will be achieved, and a global comprehensive network of individuals through which a sustainable development, a trustable system can be developed with continuous improvement. According to our research work of Globe Newswire, within an increment of 57.4% within fiscal year 2021 to 28, Bangladesh or any country can earn this amount of money from fish export through Rupali's blockchain-based solution. And we are hoping with this efficient solution of Rupali, in case of cross-border fish exporting, we will achieve the sustainable development goals within 2030, and thus our whole world will be more effective, more connecting, and the partnership will be ensured in a great extent. Thank you so much.